And a good Thursday afternoon to you. Roger Hill of Weathering Heights, VELCO Weather Hazards Forecaster. This weather video driven by 802cars.com, representing 802 Toyota, Twin City Subaru, and 802 Honda, all located off of Exit 7 on Interstate 89. Big picture, a jumble of different little systems right now. This is a shortwave trough. It's been mostly activating some moisture that's been sliding to the south of us across parts of southern New England, kind of a mix of rain and snow, kind of transitioning to rain. This is our main weather maker, though. This is a trough of lower pressure here, and it is spinning up a surface area of low pressure that's really going to be the main player here. As it works on in, it's going to develop kind of an area of low pressure along a frontal boundary that will swing wide out, well out ahead of it. And this frontal boundary will then develop this kind of ripple, and then a secondary area of low pressure will then track either across eastern parts of New England or the Gulf of Maine. The further east that would track, it would be preferable simply because it would lock in colder air. But the way it's situated right now, it looks like a lot of moisture is going to come up the eastern seaboard, and as it does, it's going to affect us with wet snow, mixed rain, roughly about the Berkshires. This is happening on Friday night, and then into the day on Saturday, it'll move all the way up north, and a pulse of energy with a low-level jet, some gradient wind issues in the summits mostly, along with some locally moderate to heavy snowfall will push into the southern Green Mountains. That looks to be where the area is going to be the strongest in terms of picking up the most snow, but that definitely does spread north during the day on Saturday. And so we're in for some wet snow, potential some wet snow loading and some impacts for utilities, all potential at this point, not a certainty. And then basically kind of a mix of rain on valley floors, where it's going to be kind of a rain, snow, kind of sloppy amount of snowfall, and basically that's going to then push on out of the region. It looks like by late in the day on Saturday. Secondary part of that storm will then push through as a area of low pressure will then become the primary, and then work into the Canadian Maritimes with a lot of blustery winds and colder air on the backside. That's going to also pick up some much colder air that's going to be pushing into the region, and this is the colder air that you can see here with some temperatures up in this general area, up in the Arctic. This is going to be heading south, kind of snagged behind this area of low pressure as it develops and strengthens, and then pulled in, and consecutively colder air will be pushing into the region. It's also basically one of the last steps for what's been going on in terms of a stratospheric warming event, something that we can get into a little bit, and I'll include another video kind of explaining how that works. Looking at the European model, a little bit of a zoom in here, and Vermont, of course, this is rain, this is snow, kind of a snow-rain mix, where that's that little zippy weather system off to the south of us. This is valid about 18Z or 1 o'clock this afternoon, and that moves on out, mostly in the form of rain. A dry day is expected during the day on Friday as an area of higher pressure in the Canadian Maritimes kind of back builds a little bit and forces a ridge, and that should give us a dry day tomorrow. Now, here comes Friday night's weather system. Okay, so a big slug of moisture. Notice this frontal boundary is way out ahead. Kind of moisture starved, but it definitely picks up some healthy amount of moisture tapping into the subtropics and the Gulf of Mexico and across Florida and whatnot. So this is going to be across the eastern seaboard, and this wave of lower pressure is going to ripple along it. And the whole mechanism for that produces some pretty good snowfall here, for wet snow, potentially even some significant snowfall. But notice we have the rain-snow line here. It's going to be a very close call in some of our local valleys, and this is valid about 10 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. And then as it moves on further north, and then basically on out of the region, leaving us with a little bit of rain shower activity, that would be valid about 5 o'clock in the evening. So continuing that, you can see it dries on out. We get into a little bit of snow shower activity, and then the whole system becomes wraps up in the Canadian Maritimes, a little bit more of a blustery scenario. Now, incoming, we'll probably have some gradient winds. It could be a little bit along the western slopes. It's mostly high elevation along the summits, coincident to the fact that it'll also be precipitating at its maximum. And so the whole thing is probably going to be elevated off valley floors, but something we'll have to watch. I think it's mainly going to be a wet snow situation, utility impacts, but even there's a lot of uncertainty because of the temperature profiles being where they are. It may just be kind of a rain mix on valley floors. A lot of the population may not be encountering any major wet snow, and it may be all up in the northern Green Mountains or the Green Mountains in general, the highest summits. So that then moves on out. We're looking at on Monday here, a couple snow showers or flurries, a little bit of a blustery shot of air pushing in. Looks like below thresholds, but then the next shortwave trough doesn't make it in here until sometime along about Wednesday, just beyond the period. Looking at the Jeffs model, the GFS and ensemble and mixed in with Canadian ensemble, what you can see here is one main system, and some indications of a little secondary thing. This would be along about, it looks like on Sunday. But for the most part, it's one system, and the total QPF for that looks like this. So we're talking somewhere around 8/10 of an inch on average. The latest computer model runs have been coming down. This is the most recent model run, the deterministic, the blue line for the GFS. So it may be trending back just a little bit. So Weather Prediction Center, you can see the eastern seaboard having greater than 1/2 inch, 1 inch amounts here, 1.5 off the coast and into southern New England and so forth with that swath of moisture. Conditions are well above normal. You can see just how above normal. We're pretty warm here, running around 18 to 20 degrees above normal over a wide swath of Canada. Vermont's a little bit cooler on the southern fringe of that. Notice Greenland's pretty warm all the way into the Arctic. Where's all the cold air? Well, it's kind of back here in your parts of Eurasia, and then it's swung out into parts of the Pacific Ocean, and this kind of is going to flow around like this, and some of that is probably going to leak down like this. So combination, we're going to get colder over time. 2-meter temperature centered on Montpelier, Vermont, of the Jeffs. And what dew point temperatures look like here kind of gives you an idea. Not a whole lot of difference. And then we are looking at the 850 hectopascal temperature, roughly the top of Mount Mansfield. In this particular case, it's getting close to rain snow, but pretty much all snow at this point as colder temperatures. Meteorological output statistics or MOS for the next 5 days of maximum temperatures will be running around 6 degrees. About 3 days later, we cool it down just a little bit, and it's about neutral. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights. Thanks for watching.